Hello, I'm Major Gaurav Arya. Pakistan tried to attain strategic depth in Afghanistan. It spent money, resources, most of all human resources, in getting that depth. But more than 180 Pakistani soldiers have been killed by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in various attacks. What has happened is that the Afghan Taliban has managed to get strategic depth inside Pakistan. This is draining Pakistan of its precious resources. And this is exactly what Pakistan is looking at. And Pakistan has no one to blame. Its situation is going to be worse than Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankans have been very largely peaceful. Yes, the Prime Minister's house was burnt, yes. They entered en masse the presidential palace. But there were no mass killings. The Sri Lankans are largely an educated people. They're largely a peaceful people. They protested peacefully. The police did not gun down protesters. Of course, there were water cannons and they fired tear gas. Sri Lanka may look like a war zone today, but it is not. The protests are very largely apolitical and very largely peaceful. The point is, if Pakistan reaches tomorrow where Sri Lanka has reached today, there is bound to be exceptional violence in Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the most weaponized countries on earth, the most armed countries on earth. Almost everybody in Pakistan has a gun. And when Pakistanis get on the road to protest, they will do so with weapons. Then we can only say one thing: God help Pakistan. That there is nothing stopping Pakistan from going the Sri Lanka way. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not the least, friends, there is another very big factor which is pushing Pakistan to the brink: Pakistan's obsession with Kashmir. Recently, Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, again made a statement that he congratulates the people of Kashmir because they have stood up to the so-called Indian aggression. So when Bilawal Bhutto goes to the United Nations on a conference which is about food security, he is forced to mention Kashmir because that is how Bilawal Bhutto will be judged. That is how his performance will be judged. When he comes back from the food security conference, nobody is going to ask him in the press conference that, Mr. Bhutto, you went all the way, you spent hundreds of thousands of precious dollars which we do not have. You took your entire entourage to the United Nations to speak on food security. Was there any MOU signed on food security? Were there any deals signed? What about Pakistan's future? What about Pakistan's security? Those questions will never be asked. Bilawal Bhutto knows, and he knew before he went to the UN, that the first and only question will be asked is, did you raise the Kashmir issue? Did you raise the Kashmir issue on a platform that was meant for food security? And this is what Pakistan keeps on doing time and again. Its foreign policy is failing. Its diplomacy has already failed. Its economy is failing because its army sucks up most of the resources meant for the common Pakistani. I have not seen any grand plan of the Pakistani government saying that, hey, this is the roadmap that we are going to follow. This is how we are going to come out of the mess. All I see is political rhetoric from Shehbaz Sharif and his cronies. And on the other hand, I see pressure being mounted by Imran Khan because Imran Khan does not care what kind of a Pakistan he takes over. Even if it's a bankrupt Pakistan, even if it's a Pakistan with no life. This is what Imran Khan wants. As I said before, a corrupt elite, political and economic instability, bite-sized pieces for Big Brother China to swallow.